Okay, let's get started on a new video. I have been meaning to do this video for quite some time, but personal professional life has distracted me for all sorts of reasons, and it took me a while to get to it. But after the past week with patients, and I'm on several online forums, I've noticed how many people have some inconsistent thoughts on what ketosis is and health and everything else. So that's what this video is. There was enough things that I said, you know what, I want to do animation and plan it and use all this modern technology, make it look so good, but I think the data is more important, and that's what I like to do. I want to get information, throw it at you so you can learn and you can be healthy and you can fix your problems. So let's get to it. Our video today, there we go. I'm just going to talk about, this is my Keto 2025 update. Again, we're getting towards the end of 2025. I could have just said 26, I guess. Probably would have been better. But this is what I want to talk about today. Who are we listening to? And again, this is for the forums. Now, just so you know, this video, again, is for people who are beginners, advanced, for patients, and for people that I've never met in my life. I wish you all well. So we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about keto. Is it right for you? We're going to talk a little bit more of that. Some of this is going to repeat of my other videos. So if you like this video, feel free to watch the older ones. It's still good information. I've just updated a little things, and also the things that apparently maybe I did not get across earlier. Then tracking, of course, I'll always bring up. And then we're going to talk about breathalyzers and review some of that information. And then the thing about carbs, which was something that today just made me frustrated. I got to make a video. So here we go. First of all, be careful who you listen to, especially on these forums. There are questions I see that people post, and then all these people have their opinions, and some of the opinions are outright wrong. You don't know who the person is. You don't know if it's a morbidly obese person who is just starting out, who knows nothing about nutrition. They don't even know what a carbohydrate is, aside from reading a label. And at the same point, it could be a super fit person who's a marathon runner, and they think that they're healthy because they look good, when in fact they're not healthy either, and it's not a good diet for them or their hormones or anything to that point. So you want to be careful where people are coming from, what they're promoting, and why, and is it just a realistic opinion? We are all different, and we're going to get into a little bit more of that in a second. And then this is not just social media either. Most medical doctors know nothing of nutrition because they're not taught that. They're taught the wrong thing. There are some doctors that are really good, medical doctors, that know their nutrition. I've gotten into genomics, and I know a whole group of people who are phenomenal with their understanding of nutrition. So I'm not trashing a profession. Chiropractors, same thing. There's a lot of chiropractors who think that they're really healthy and they know nothing about nutrition, supplementation, any of that. There's dietitians out there who are absolute garbage, and there's other ones out there who are phenomenal. And in the beginning, when I started earlier in practice, I've been in practice 27 years, I wanted to try to do everything. You can't do everything. If you really don't know what you're doing, it's good to learn from someone like myself, learn from someone who has quality training, but at the same point, you might want to consult with a good dietitian who's helpful and knowledgeable. You might want to have someone teach you even how to go shopping or how to cook or how to do things, because a lot of the complaints out there, when I read what people are saying, it's they don't know. Like they really don't understand human nutrition and human metabolism, and it's not your fault. If you're watching this video, you know, we've been misled by our government, FDA, for years. The food guide pyramid, the 4 food groups, all of that is absolutely lunacy, and yet it was allowed to happen and such. So that's one thing. The other thing on here is you want to be very careful about recognizing that the human body is different for different people. Some people will do good on one thing and some people will do good on another. So with that said, now here is really another common thread. Is keto really failing you, or are you even doing keto? I cannot tell you how many times people have come in and said something like, oh, my breathalyzer is not working. And of course, I'm in adaptive ketosis, and I'm like, let me see it. And I blow, and boop, it triggers. It's like, no, it's you. Or it's your meter. Something, well, in that case, it would be the meter. So that's the thing. What's really failing, and I'm going to get into what we need to do to stop that. Is keto right for you? Keto, a lot of things, again, in the forum, some people said, oh, I tried it for 2 years. I didn't lose any weight. Or I tried it 2 years and I felt good in the beginning and then my hair started falling out. Or all these problems. That's not keto's fault. That's your fault of doing something wrong. But is it right for you? It depends. If you're a black person, a white person, you probably have very similar genetics and keto's probably good for you. Keto is not just about losing weight, and I cover this in prior videos. It is about getting into adaptive ketosis. Yes, it's good to lose weight, but it's also very good to help your blood sugar. If you're pre-diabetic or have diabetes in your family, it's good for dementia and Alzheimer's and all sorts of potential aging neurologic disorders as well. And so just because you did something early in life doesn't mean you might want to consider shifting your metabolism to that. My wife is Thai. She's a hypoglycemic a little bit, but she's a true Thai person. How many meals a day does she eat? I joke one continual meal all day long. She eats all the time. I did keto for me, and she was miserable, mainly because she felt like she was being punished. That's when I learned that, hey, when she has too many carbs and she has wheat especially, she snores. So, again, we're all different, and it's good to do that kind of stuff. Here's the other thing with that, which I'm going to go into in just a second, is what are your goals? People have different goals. A lot of people, again, think that it's for weight loss, but there's many other benefits of getting into adaptive ketosis. And again, I say that it's not about keto. It's getting your body into adaptive ketosis, which is when your body shifts its metabolism into burning fat, not forcing it to burn fat, getting it to where it naturally wants to burn fat for what it's doing. So I say this, and I will say it on probably every single video. You have to track. If you get yourself in the situation where you can regularly track, you're going to figure out what is going on. If you're coming in and out of keto, if you're not reaching your goals, there is a reason. And that is why if you track, you can't fool it. If you track, then you'll figure out what's wrong. I had a patient years ago. He would cycle about 100 miles a week. His cholesterol was higher than his doctor wanted it to for his physical. His doctor didn't even ask him about his exercise and says, you need to exercise more for your cholesterol. So it just shows again how ignorant people can be when he didn't even ask the person. And riding 100 miles a week, yeah, you obviously are getting good exercise in your body. So you have to track. And the thing that I'm adding for my update here is to really hit home that you want to add more items. Let's say you started keto just because you wanted to lose weight and you lost your weight and you want to stay in adaptive keto, and you do. And that's why I do it, because I notice it's fine for my brain. I maintain my weight very well. I don't have a problem with that. If I cheat, do I go up a little bit? Yeah, but it comes right down because I'm in an adaptive keto state. So that's really the key to why you want to track, and your items may change. Let's say you're maintaining your weight, everything's good and going fine. Well, then start tracking. And I use a Whoop, but there's Fitbit, there's the Aura Ring, there's the Apple Watch. There's many different biometric devices now that you can use that help you figure out, how's your sleep, how's your this, how's your that. That's very important. And there's other devices out there. One that I tell a lot of people with blood sugar problems especially is those blood sugar monitor devices. They go on the back of your tricep. You can now get those almost over the counter, essentially. The companies that sell them, they have a doctor on staff. You can get one. And you might get one for 3 months. I highly recommend for some people, if you're curious, to do it. I had a patient who was a nurse, very knowledgeable about what she did, very healthy diet, and she had one. And when she was doing it, she would say she eats steel-cut oats, which is considered of a grain. Again, we can argue that, but it's better than most. But it's considered a high-fiber grain. It's considered low glycemic. When she would eat steel-cut oats, her blood sugar would spike through the roof. Yet she could eat mashed potatoes all day long without a problem. And again, that's the thing. If you're tracking, you're going to be able to figure that out, and you're going to be able to see that and note that. And again, facts are facts. If suddenly you're no longer in keto, why? There's a reason. And it doesn't have to be just what did you eat the day before. How much exercise did you do? How much that? I'm going to cover that a little bit on, I believe, the next slide. I'm not. So keto meters. This is definitely an update. I covered a little bit in the prior video, but I just wanted to update it because obviously technology changes and stuff. Here's a whole bunch of different keto meters. If you go on Amazon and you search it, you're going to find a lot of the same thing. They all look the same. They probably all came. They're just third-party vendors, so they're all pretty much the same. I do not have this bottom one. I've used 2 of them in the past, and they both broke before any of the other ones, and they just didn't seem to work as well. So I threw those out before I realized I might do a video one time. This one right here is the one I've used the most. I use the most often, and I recommend it to my patients. All of these are in like the $50 range, which isn't bad. Again, if you're using it every day, it might break early, the batteries might go bad, and everything else. That I'm also going to cover, again, repeat in the next slide. This one in the middle here, this is only $50 too. This is the Keto Mojo. This one is actually a prick test. This also does blood sugar. It does glucose and it does ketone levels. So for people who really have a problem, if you don't mind pricking yourself, that's going to be your best bet in a way to use, and for bang for the buck what you get. It's a really good device. I used it in the beginning. I hate pricking myself, and I didn't need to anymore. If you're in keto, the number doesn't really matter too much. If you're a 5 one day and a 30 the next day, or a 24, it doesn't matter. The point is you're still in keto. When you test, you do want to do it at the same time. You don't want to do it after exercise one day and one day at night and one day first thing in the morning. Usually you want to do it at a regular time. So one thing would be, in the first time in the morning when you wake up is pretty good. Most people, you've slept, you should be in keto. If you're doing keto, in the morning for sure, because you haven't ate in a couple hours. This one over here in the top right, this is a new one that I just bought. This was $80. Much more expensive than the others, considered 50 versus 80. I want to try it out. Again, I've tried so many of them. I've gone through so many of them, and my goal is to give you information. It's cool. It pops up. It protects itself, which is kind of neat. It has USB charging, so you don't have to worry about AA batteries and everything else. I have not had it long enough to give a review long term, because I've only had it for about a month to 2 months. If I have to give it a negative, because I did say I'll mention a review, and I'm going to do a review on a different video at some point, maybe who knows when. But this one, the only thing I don't like about it is when it counts down, because it sets itself. This one takes 99 seconds. That's over a minute and a half. The other ones are standard 20 seconds. 20 seconds is a lot shorter than waiting for a minute and a half to then breathe. I do like this unit. Is it worth the money? Not sure if I have out for that. For most people, I think this one right here is probably your best bet, are the ones that look like this. This would be my second choice. Again, the Keto Moji, and then this, and I don't recommend any ones that look that direction. Oops. So this is also another repeat a little bit. Some meters can have problems, and a lot of times there's a couple reasons. One is you need to reset your meter. If you're using your meter daily, you probably can keep a little ketones in there and it's no longer accurate. And all you have to do is just essentially clear the system, is run it 1 or 2 cycles without breathing into it, without anything, and it kind of just cleans it out and it resets itself. So that's one thing. People think their meter broke or something like that. No, just clean it out, and usually that's the answer. The other one would be batteries. Even though it doesn't say it has low batteries yet, I have found that when it's getting lowish on the batteries, sometimes it does not work as well. Again, these are not really expensive pieces of equipment. The one I showed you is probably a higher caliber. At the same point, do you need it? Then the other question again is it you? Like I said before, so many times people come in, my meter's broken. No, it's you. What'd you do? And, oh, well, I did have a muffin. I did that. Well, in that person's case, it was too much. And that's, again, why tracking is so important, to figure out the what and the why and the who and the how kind of thing. And can they go bad? Yes, they can definitely go bad. That's why I have so many of them. If I'm using them daily, and I used for a while, I was doing like 3 different ones at a time every day. And after a year, 1 went bad and 2 still worked for another 2 years. But again, for $50, that's not a bad deal. So now we get back to the big thing that I want to really mention that it frustrated me, is when somebody brings up at the carbs. Hey, is this a good product for me? Hey, can I eat this? How many carbs is this? And there's so many people that are just absolutely wrong. Carbs are not just carbs. Ketosis is not about ketosis. You got to track and see what your body's doing. If you're an active person, you can be in keto maybe with 40, 50 grams of carbs a day. If you're inactive or your metabolism messed up, it might be 20 grams of protein. It really varies. But where the big inconsistency comes from, and that's going to be over here that so many people don't understand, is when they say carbs, you're supposed to do net carbs. So carbohydrates minus your fiber equals your net carbs. That's when they're talking about 20 grams a day net carbs or 40 grams a day net carbs. So in this case, I'm using two things, very, very different products, obviously Doritos and but it's per serving first of all, which again, you got to look at what the per serving size is for a item. And this is technically 15 grams of net carbs. I'm going to come back there. And then we have this keto bread, and the keto bread technically is a net zero. They're allowed to say that because it has 12 grams of carbs and 12 grams of fiber. So they're allowed to say the net is zero. Is that true? Not necessarily. So here's the other thing. It's not just about the carbs. What else is in it? If we look at this Dorito product, it's got MSG, it's got corn, which guaranteed. Somewhere else on the label, if you looked at that bag, it comes from bioengineered sources, which is it's genetically modified. If you get in the habit of reading labels, you're going to find that more and more and more, especially when it comes to a product like corn. Go to your grocery store and look at corn chips and try to find one that does not say somewhere may contain bioengineered foods or GMO, whatever else. Even organic products sometimes will say that now, and it's just a real shame. And then the other junk in here, there's things like red dyes and colors and all that kind of stuff. There's red 40. It's outlawed in almost every country in the world. Why do we still have it? That's politics, not a purpose of this video of why it is, but you have to understand reading the ingredients is just as important as looking at that basic carb count. So we've learned this for years. This has been known. It's been published. There is a difference. 10 grams of carbohydrate in a cookie versus 10 grams in an apple are different. So carbs are not just carbs. It depends on the type of carb, what kind of fiber it is. It depends on many other factors, but a processed food that has low carbs is not necessarily the thing is something natural. That should be common sense, but apparently some people don't understand that. What is the appropriate amount of carbs? I already covered that a little bit, but I'll just reiterate just for sure. If you're active, you might need more carbs and you can stay in ketosis. If you're inactive, you might not. So if it's summertime and you're typically out walking and you're exercising, you're doing well, you probably can cheat a lot more than in the wintertime, depending where you live in the world. You might not be as active. Well, guess what? You're not burning the carbs. You're not doing as much high impact. You probably need to watch your carbs better. And you can negotiate the carbs. If there's something you really, really want, okay, have it and let that be your carbs and then avoid something else, but don't do that all the time. Also, you don't want to count most vegetables. If you don't need to count the carbohydrates in asparagus or artichokes or broccoli or any good natural vegetable. You don't have to count that at all as carbohydrates. Starches, yes, rices and grains and those kind of things. Those you do, root vegetables. But your good fibrous vegetables, you don't even need to put those into your paradigm of if it's a problem or not. While I say that, I want to add too, again, prior video, a lot of people who fail or have problems with keto don't realize how much minerals they need and electrolytes, and that really equates a lot of times to more salt. So if you're truly in keto and you're doing keto and you're exercising, you're going to need more salt. Even though doctors say, oh, salt's bad, it makes your blood pressure high. That's absolutely untrue, depending on what the person's diet is. A lot of people need more salt when they're doing keto. And then why doesn't fiber count to this? Fiber is actually a carbohydrate. The reason they say it doesn't count and you negate it is because it slows the absorption, and they say it's non-digestible. That's actually not true for some people. People with really bad problems, metabolisms, and have had problems for years, your body can digest fiber and turn it into carbohydrate and absorb it. So that's again why tracking comes into play. If you are tracking and suddenly you're at a keto for no reason, well, how much fiber did you have the day before? Maybe you are digesting the fiber because your body is imbalanced and it wants carbs, and it's going to figure out how to get them. The extreme of that, which is a very rare condition, is called brewery syndrome, which is people actually can ferment fiber in their gut, and they will absorb it as alcohol. And for some people, that sounds really good and fun, but it's really not, because unfortunately, how are you going to live your life if you can't have any fiber? Then you go on the road and or you fail a drug test at your job, and there's plenty of cases of people doing that. So again, fiber is not necessarily that. It's a good guideline, and that's what that is. That's, again, why you want to track. You want to track to learn how your body works and such, and it's also good because it'll help you figure out, just because it worked for somebody doesn't mean it works for you. Even if they look the same as you, doesn't mean it works for you. I used to roll my eyes when people say, hey, if you like this video, subscribe, click the link below. I'm not that far yet, but I do recognize that there is a benefit. Subscribe. I used to post a lot on Vimeo, and then I moved to YouTube, and people got confused. So I know my following is very low on YouTube right now, but my goal in the future is to increase a lot of the content that's coming out, not just on keto, but all the other things of health, which I've learned over my 27 years of practice and personal life, and through patients, obviously, their lives and stuff. So be careful who you listen to. Be careful what you read. Think for yourself. Nobody necessarily knows the answer. And again, what is the motive and why? I have no motive from this video. I'm not making any money off anything. I just want to share wisdom, and I hope this is helpful, and I hope you enjoy it, and be well and be healthy. Thank you.